What if one of the most beautiful lines in the English literature is not offering comfort, but permission? We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. It sounds like consolation, even hope, a way of dignifying imperfection. But what if, inside Lady Windermere's fan, the line is doing something far more dangerous? The standard reading is almost too elegant. The gutter is moral compromise. The stars are aspiration. Wilde, through Lord Darlington, reminds us that imperfection is universal, but so is the capacity to reach beyond it. It's a humane idea, a forgiving one. It softens the rigidity of Victorian moral judgment and replaces it with something more flexible, more modern. And within the play, that reading seems to fit. Lady Windermere begins as a figure of moral absolutism. She believes in clean divisions, virtue or vice, loyalty or betrayal. Darlington offers her a different framework, one that accepts human flaw without collapsing into despair. That's the version of the line that survives quotation, but it's not the version that survives scrutiny. The contradiction. Because Darlington doesn't speak this line in a vacuum. He speaks it to a woman he is trying to seduce, at the exact moment her moral certainty is breaking. That matters. The line is not just philosophical, it's strategic. When Darlington says, "We are all in the gutter," he is not simply observing a universal condition. He is dissolving a standard, lowering the ground on which judgment stands. And when he gestures toward the stars, he offers not morality, but escape. A reframing that makes compromise feel like depth, even beauty. This is not neutral wisdom. It is rhetoric with intent. And once you see that, the line shifts. It stops being a reflection on human nature and starts becoming a tool for manipulating it. Darlington's brilliance, Wilde's brilliance, is that the line works in both directions at once. On the surface, it acknowledges corruption. It refuses the illusion of moral purity. In that sense, it feels honest, almost courageous. But underneath, it performs a quieter move. It makes judgment feel naive. If everyone is already in the gutter, then what exactly are you defending when you refuse to descend? What does loyalty mean if betrayal is simply part of the human condition? What becomes of principle if it is exposed as illusion? Darlington doesn't argue against Lady Windermere's values directly. He renders them irrelevant. That is far more effective, and far more dangerous. Because Lady Windermere's vulnerability is not just emotional, it is philosophical. Her identity depends on the belief that moral clarity is possible, that right and wrong can be separated cleanly. Darlington's line introduces doubt into that structure, not by disproving it, but by reframing it as naive. And once that doubt enters, her position weakens, not because it is wrong, but because it begins to feel unsustainable. This is what the line actually does in the scene. It does not elevate her. It destabilizes her. But Wilde doesn't leave the idea there. Because if Darlington represents one response to the gutter, a kind of aestheticized acceptance, Mrs. Erlynne represents another. She is, by every social measure, already condemned. She lives in the gutter, fully exposed. No illusion of respectability protects her. And yet she acts, she intervenes, she sacrifices. She preserves Lady Windermere's reputation at the cost of her own, which creates a problem for Darlington's philosophy. Because if everyone is equally compromised, then moral distinction should collapse. There should be no meaningful difference between characters, only variations in perspective. But Mrs. Erlynne disproves that. She shows that even within the gutter, choices matter. That moral action does not disappear simply because purity is impossible. In other words, Wilde introduces a second layer beneath Darlington's claim. Yes, everyone is compromised, but not everyone is the same. This is where the tension of the play sharpens. Darlington offers a world without judgment. Mrs. Erlynne embodies a world where judgment still matters, but must be redefined. And Lady Windermere is caught between them. Her original mistake is believing in absolute purity. Darlington's mistake is abandoning moral distinction altogether. The play refuses both. So what is Wilde actually doing with the line? He is not offering a comforting truth about human imperfection. He is staging a conflict between two ways of responding to it. Darlington's version is seductive because it replaces morality with perspective. It allows you to remain in the gutter while believing you are elevated by the way you see it. It turns compromise into sophistication. But the play quietly undermines that position. Through Mrs. Erlynne, Wilde suggests that acknowledging imperfection is not the same as excusing it. That even in a compromised world, actions carry weight. That morality survives, not as purity, but as responsibility, which reframes the line entirely. We are all in the gutter is true, but incomplete. Because what matters is not whether you look at the stars, it's what you do while you're there. That's why the line endures, not because it offers clarity, but because it withholds it. It sounds like wisdom, it feels like resolution. But inside the play, it is unstable, pulled between insight and manipulation, honesty and excuse. And that instability is the point. Wilde doesn't give us a way out of the gutter. He removes the illusion that one exists. What remains is harder, not purity, not perspective, but judgment without certainty. And that is a far less comforting idea than the quote suggests.